Welcome back, everyone. Well, as you know, we're dedicating a lot of our programming, and the interviews especially, to the events that are going on surrounding Veterans Day. And it's a real honor today for me to be joined by my guest, David Wallingford. Dave and I we're kind of the same era, Dave, you and I. And Dave served our country during a time that was very controversial. Some people refer to it as a dark period in our contemporary history, the era of Vietnam. And just one quick aside before I start talking to David. I said to him, so you served over Vietnam? And he said, yes. And I said, you were a Marine? And he corrected me. He said, I am a Marine. And that really sort of sums up the kind of dedication that you had. So David, welcome. It's real nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So let's just start there. You served, as I said, it was a pretty dark period.
Yes, it was. It was a situation not only nationally of the dark period, it was a personal dark period for myself. At age 24, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and I felt that to serve my country was something I needed to do to challenge myself. And I felt the Marine Corps was the toughest to get challenged at, and that's no aspersions against other special operation groups with the other armed services, but overall. So I joined the Marine Corps, and after education in their system, I ended up, as you say, in Vietnam in 1968, 1969.
Wow.
And
that was the height of the conflict.
69 was the height of the
Yes.
buildup with over 500,000 men.
Do you realize
there.
that today when we talk about news and we talk about different conflicts around the world, you know, we talk about putting 3,000 troops over or 4,000 troops over, right?
Yeah.
You know, in Iraq or in Afghanistan, and it's a big deal. We're talking about north of 500,000 troops in Vietnam. That's amazing, right?
That's right. That's right.
And you were in the artillery. You were an artillery officer.
I was an artillery officer, and my initial assignment in Vietnam was to a Marine rifle company as a forward observer. The purpose of that being to call in supporting arms in the event you made contact with the enemy. And we didn't fight where I was located, was along the DMZ, separating the two Vietnams. And
So when you called in for support?
When I called in for support, that was my primary job. So in one sense, I was what we called a grunt.
Yeah,
and
really.
And I spent the better part of 6 months with the rifle company calling in support.
Now, on the 21st, we've got a real special event coming up here in Saratoga. All these years later, right?
All these years.
Because I think I've got the math right. We're talking about the 50th anniversary. Depending when you really think the conflict started, a lot of us think that when we started really sending troops over there in 64.
Yeah.
65 is really the beginning of our involvement there. So on September 24th, right here in Saratoga at City Center, there's an event called the Tribute to the Vietnam-era veterans.
That's correct. November the 21st from 7 to 10 o'clock. There will be hors d'oeuvres and drinks available. There is no charge for admission, and we exhort veterans and their families to come out. They don't have to be strictly Vietnam. All veterans are entitled to come and participate in this. We have a fun-filled evening going to be taken care of by Gary Ferris, who is a well-known reenactor, who will do the better part of the 3-hour show and act as MC. So we urge you to participate in this, and we're hoping that people come and rub elbows with other people and play the where you're from game and who are you with overseas game.
And you know what that brings to mind, and Dave and I were talking about this earlier. There's a brotherhood there. You serve for our country. It doesn't make any difference if it was Vietnam or World War II. It really doesn't make any difference which conflict it is. There's a connection. There's a bond there that transcends a lot of relationships. And during this tribute, by the way, and this culminates, there's a lot we could talk about here, but this culminates a lot of activities in Saratoga Springs, which was designated a commemorative city. This is almost the culmination of a 2-year tribute to Vietnam-era veterans. And you mentioned Gary Ferris. We mentioned this in the news last night. Gary is a reenactor, an entertainer, and he's going to be doing stuff from that era, from the famous movie, really, Good Morning Vietnam, right? Which is really tells a real heartfelt story about that era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Now, they'll be passing in colors, right?
Well, we'll post colors. We'll actually have a color guard. Mm-hmm. We will post colors, and we have a choir from Saratoga Springs High School who will sing the national anthem. There will be a welcome by the overall chairman of the commemorative project, Lou Benton, who will do a welcome and recognition of local politicians and VIPs. We will then retire the colors, and the choir will again then sing a patriotic song, and we told them they could pick and choose what they want.
Yeah, great.
And then Lou will turn the show over to Gary Ferris, and it's, as you mentioned, is a takeoff of Good Morning Vietnam, and we look at it as Good Evening Vietnam. So I anticipate Gary to really put on a great show.
Oh, Gary, that's what you can count on with Gary. He will put on a great show. You know, Dave and I were going back and forth. There's so many memories from that era. And a lot of the soldiers from Vietnam especially came back and just blended back into society. The country at the time was very conflicted about it. There were opponents to the war. There were people that were in favor of the war. It was a tough period in our history. So I encourage you all on the 21st. There's no admission, 7 to 10 p.m. at Civic Center here in City Center here in Saratoga. Come show your support. You know, if you're a veteran, come in and meet other veterans and talk to them. Gary will put on a great show, and as Dave told me before we came on, no talking heads, no politicians. They'll be recognized in the audience, but no lectures. And one other thing I want to mention too, there'll be support groups there represented. So if you are a veteran and you're looking for some information from support groups, they'll be present also.
That's
but
correct.
David, thank you very much for coming in.
Well, thank you.
And thank you so much for your service.
Oh,
you know,
thank you.
I know you hear that a lot.
You're welcome.
And you're a Marine.
I am a Marine.
Damn right. Okay, David. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.